शुरू करो शुरू करो 9, 10 yes. Good morning, guys. Am I audible? Good morning. Good morning. I request you to turn on the cameras. Right. Happy Monday. I know after a great weekend, coming back to class on Monday morning is still lethargic. Even it is lethargic to me as well. Okay. Please turn on the cameras. Please be a bit more interactive. Right. Okay. Morning. Thank you. My name is Raja Kumar, and I'm going to take your economy foundation classes. So today it is going to be a broadly superficial orientation lecture. Of course, we are not getting deeper into the concepts. We are not discussing too many concepts. Probably at the end of the class, we are going to discuss one topic, and I'll make you solve some PYQs, prelims questions. But other than that, I want to introduce you to this subject first, so that if you have any apprehensions, these apprehensions will be cleared off. But before that, I just wanted to know that how many of you have had economy as a subject in your graduation? You had it? That's good. That's an added advantage. Okay. Anybody else? One semester. What was the subject? Indian economy. That's good. Anybody else? Right. It's okay. So, having an understanding of economy prior to the preparation, the basic understanding of an economy prior to the preparation may give you a little bit of that added advantage, of course. But for all those who have never been exposed to this subject, probably the last time you had been exposed to this subject was way back in your school, probably till 10th standard when we used to study the social textbooks. There are some sort of economy, some sort of economic terms which were introduced to you. Other than that, after 10th standard, until and unless you choose this subject, the scope of exposure to this subject is pretty limited, unlike other subjects comparatively. Of course, you might have heard about certain terms like GDP, inflation, taxes. So these are the terms which we keep hearing in day-to-day life. Whenever you open the newspaper, when you read newspaper, you come across these kind of terms, right? Other than that, I'm sure most of us do not have prior exposure to this subject, and that is what? That is one thing which make most of the students make a lot of assumptions about this subject. But let me tell you, this subject is very technical, very rational, very technical, and very objective. It's not an abstract subject, it's not subjective. That's what the subject more easier than the other subjects, if you ask me. Trust me, most of the students who complete their foundation do have lot of fundamental flaws with respect to their economy subject. This one subject. This is one thing that I have witnessed based on my experience with the students. Most of them. In fact, most of them, after going through the foundation class, they take economy as a separate module. There is a reason economy module is pretty famous in the market. I don't want you to go through any such kind of modules. Once you're done with my 50 odd classes in this foundation, I expect you to do it on your own. I'll explain you how are you going to deal the syllabus and how are you going to make it easier. But if you have any preconceived assumptions about the subject, you do not have to worry about it. It's pretty easy, scientific, objective subject. Right? Okay. Now that you understood the subject, do you know what is the weightage of this subject in prelims and mains? You want to take any guess? In questions in prelims, right? In questions in prelims. Lot of weightage, right? Right. Yes. How do you understand the significance of the subject? How do you measure it? It's purely based on its weightage. How many questions are asked? How many marks can be scored from this subject? If you're good at this subject, you can score at least 30 marks. Okay. So this is the weightage of economy in prelims. On an average, every year there are around 16 to 17 questions which are asked on an average. If you look at the last 3 years, last 5 years, last year there were 18 questions. Okay. Even in this year, 2023, 15 questions, 22, 18 questions, 21, 15 questions. This year also, in 2025 prelims also, we have got around 16 questions. Depending upon the perceptions, you can add more questions, because there are certain questions which cannot be categorized into one particular subject. Otherwise, if you add them, the number goes up to 17, 18. But one thing I can assure you, that 15 questions can be asked. Okay, 15 into 2, 30 marks. Based on the trend that we have seen in the last 5 years, okay, your 1/3 of your cutoff could be easily achieved only through one subject, if you're good at one subject. That is the strength of this subject, right? Understand? So this is the weightage of this subject in prelims, and same in the mains, it has got good weightage. There are around at least 8 questions are asked. If you go by the last 4 years trend, there are 4 10 markers and 4 15 markers, like 40, 60, 100 marks, 8 questions. I'm assuming that this trend is going to be continued. So in GS paper 3, its weightage is around 100 marks. 100 marks in GS paper 3. So basically it is going to make or break your prelims economy, and also in terms of mains, it is going to push your score. You know, in the last 3-4 years, most of the people are failing to score big in GS paper 3. If you see, the average score has been dwindled down to around 80, 85 for all the toppers. There are hardly anybody who is touching that 3-digit number 100 in GS paper 3. Of course, there are other reasons for it, because GS paper 3 comprises of multiple subjects, and one more reason is this: a lot of people do not understand the syllabus of GS paper 3 properly, especially economy properly. There is a slight difference between the syllabus of economy from prelims point of view and mains point of view. If you fail to understand the difference, and if you fail to deal the syllabus of economy from mains point of view, there are high chances that you may leave around 3 to 4 questions. There are high chances that there are 3 to 4 questions which are completely incomprehensible to you. That is one of the reasons why most of the students are failing to score well in GS paper 3. Right. So now that you understood the weightage, first of all, let me introduce you the topics and their relative weightage from the prelims point of view, and then I'll go through the main syllabus. Okay. In fact, have you ever gone through the syllabus? Have you gone through the syllabus? Prelim syllabus or main syllabus? The prelim syllabus is very, it is mentioned in just one line: economic and social development, inclusive growth, poverty, something like that. That's it. If you go by the prelim syllabus, there are a lot of topics which you may not understand. Unlike main syllabus, which has been given in detail, prelim syllabus is very simple. It was written in just 1 or 2 lines. 1 line for economy, that's it. Economic and social development. That is not going to help you to understand what we are trying to study in this subject. Okay. If you see, is it visible to you? These are the most important topics that we are going to study from the prelims point of view in economy. Is it visible to you? Right? Yes. Okay. I'll keep reading it. Nothing to worry. If you cannot understand it, I'll keep reading it. Okay. I'll explain this. I'll give you a brief overview of these topics one by one. Right? And I'll explain you what we are going to study in these topics, and I'll show you the kind of questions that are being asked from each and every topic. At the end, I'm going to take one topic from banking and I'll explain you the concept and I'll make you answer the questions. Okay. First, money supply. Money supply is one important topic, and in this topic, in this chapter, we are going to study everything about money. When I say everything about money, everything. Right? What is money? The currency notes that we see, is it just the money, or is something? Money refers to something much more than the currency notes. And what are the characteristics of money? What are the functions of money? What is the role of money in a modern day economy? And who supplies money? Who prints money? Who prints the notes? Who prints the currency notes? Any idea? RBI. Okay. RBI is RBI the only authority which prints the money? Right. The coins are minted by Ministry of Finance, whereas the rest of the currency notes, ranging from denomination of 2 rupees to 10,000 rupees, they are printed by Reserve Bank of India. That is why if you see the 1 rupee note, you don't find RBI governor's signature. You find the secretary's signature or the finance minister's signature, but you don't find this RBI governor's signature. Okay. So why is that? We are going to study about what made RBI to print the money. Does it mean that RBI can print the money out of thin air and distribute it? In that case, there is nobody who is richer than RBI. Right? It can print the money, and that money has acceptability because it is a legal tender, because it is written there. I promise you, RBI governor is going to say, sign the legal tender and say that I am going to promise you, the bearer of this note, this amount of money. Right? So where is this authority coming from? Is there any legal backing to it? If at all there is a legal backing to it, is there no bounds for RBI's authority in printing the money? If there are bounds, what are the criteria and what are the steps what are the factors that are actually taken into account while printing the money? Once the money is printed, how is it going to be distributed? How is it going to be multiplied? All these aspects. For example, I have 100 rupees notes in my pocket. This is my money. Let's say I have deposited that money in the bank. Whose money is this? My money or bank's money? If bank has utilized that money as loan to somebody else, that 100 rupees is given as a loan to some Mr. A. Now whose money is it? Mr. A is possessing that 100 rupees note in his pocket, and I am assuming that on paper I have a deposit of 100 rupees in my bank account. Whose money is this? My money and his money, but the currency note is just 100 rupees, but we both have 100 each. So the money is 200 rupees, but currency note is only 100 rupees. Isn't it? So that is the difference between the currency note and the money. Understand? So the currency note, once it goes into the banking sector, it starts multiplying and it increases the money supply in the economy. So what factors are involved? How to increase that money supply? How money multiplication is done by the banking sector? And what are its consequences? And what are its negative consequences, positive consequences? And who control the entire money supply? All these aspects are going to be studied in money supply. I'll just show you the kind of questions that are going to be asked. If you are aware of these basic concepts, it is very easy to answer these questions. Money supply is very important topic. So which one of the following statements correctly describe the meaning of a legal tender money? Simple question. Asking about the legal tender money. See, which one of the following effects of creation of black money in India has been the main cause of worry to the government of India? When we're talking about money, money supply, we are only talking about the regular recorded money. What about that money which is being supplied beyond, under the radar? Will it be considered as a part of the money supply? What kind of consequences does it have? What kind of consequences it is going to have on the economy? And these kind of analytical questions, these kind of example based questions can also be asked. A hypothetical situation is given, and based on the hypothetical situation, you are expected to answer based by using your conceptual understanding. If you withdraw 1 lakh rupees in cash from your demand deposit account at your bank, the immediate effect on the aggregate money supply in the economy will be. if you remember, when I was just giving you this hypothetical example, I have 100 rupees, I have deposited in the bank has given that money to somebody else, but I have a right to withdraw the money whenever I want to. So I have withdrawn the money. So what impact is it going to have it on the overall money supply? Is it going to be decreased? Is it going to remain the same? For that you need to understand. Yes, somebody was trying to. Yes, it will increase. Okay, decrease. Yeah, it will remain same. In fact, it will remain same. It is not going to decrease, because according to the definition of money, it increases cash, the currency held with the public, and also the deposits made in the bank, especially the demand deposits. Okay, so you'll understand, nothing to worry. So you'll understand the concept of money. Once you understand, that's what I'm saying. Currency is different from money. Currency is just an instrument. Money comprises of multiple things, and there are multiple instruments and multiple assets which are considered part of currency, part of money. Your deposits, there are multiple kinds of deposits. Some of them are demand deposits, some of them are time deposits. Demand deposits means whenever you deposit money in the bank, you can withdraw it whenever you want. Time deposits are, there are certain restrictions on your withdrawal, like you have invested in fixed deposit of 5 years, so you can't withdraw before it. So there are certain restrictions. So demand deposit is highly liquid asset compared to time deposit. What do you mean by liquid asset? There is a question on this. I'll make you answer this, but I'll move on after going through this. Just one word. You know what is liquid asset? Right. Anybody from online? Do you know what is, have you heard about this term liquid? Right? Anything which can be easily converted into cash. The liquidity means, the word liquidity refers to the ease at which an asset can be converted into cash. For example, I'll just give an example. See, I have a real estate property and I'm in need of money. If I have to sell that property, it is going to take some time. Right? I have to find the real estate broker, I have to find the right buyer, and I have to negotiate the price. And after, since it involves transaction of huge amount of money, certain legal bases are supposed to be covered, and also this is supposed to be registered. It will take some time for me to convert that asset into money. Let's say I have gold. I can go to the pawn shop and I can go to this, I can sell that gold and I can get the money easily. One day, probably it will take just 2 hours. For example, I have a share, I can sell it in the market. When the trading opens, I may sell the share, I may get back my money. Right? So which is more liquid? Real estate property or gold? Gold is more liquid. Share is relatively liquid comparatively. The same thing, demand deposit or time deposit, which is more liquid? Demand deposit. Because you can go to the ATM and withdraw your money, your demand account, current account and savings account. That's it. Okay. So this is about money supply broadly, and also new changes that are being introduced to the concept of money, because till now we are used to this concept of the currency notes, the physical currency notes. But RBI is introducing a new digital rupee. What is this digital rupee? What are its characters? And what was the need for digital rupee? In fact, I haven't shown you these questions, but already there has been 2 questions. Twice a question on RBI digital rupee has been asked. This is going to be the revolution. With the advent of this all blockchain technology, RBI is utilizing this blockchain technology and introducing a new currency, digital currency. Questions have been asked twice. Right? Back to back questions have been asked. Right? Okay. That is about money supply. Next, banking. In the banking chapter, we are going to talk about, this is most important chapter, because most of the questions are going to come from this chapter. 37 questions in last 10 years. On an average, 3 to 4 questions per year. 3 to 4 questions from one chapter. Okay, I generally divide it into 2 chapters, but they have correlation, they have common areas, there is a gray area, they have intersectional topics, bank and monetary policy. bank, you understand what is bank and what is banking sector and what kind of how a bank functions, and what are the technical terms that are involved in the regular functioning of a bank, and what are the issues faced by a bank. Okay, the issues faced by a bank is also important, and how RBI is going to deal with it, because RBI being the central bank is going to regulate all the banks in India. So what is the relation between RBI and banks? So there is this kind of big brother relation is there with banks. So it controls them and also helps them. That is why I said big brother. It helps them when there is nobody who is going to help the bank. The bank can shamelessly go to RBI, just like how we shamelessly go to our elder siblings whenever we need money, isn't it? The bank is like that. The RBI is like that. So monetary policy, the word monetary policy refers to any policy introduced or taken by the Reserve Bank of India in controlling the money supply in the market. Okay. How it is going to be done and why does RBI take these kind of steps to control the money supply, we are going to discuss on another day. So this is broadly about banking and monetary policy. I am going to discuss one topic from bank at the end of the discussion. This is financial markets. Next chapter. Financial markets. Financial market refers to all the issues that are surrounded uh, in the capital markets. That means stock markets. You might have heard about stock market, shares, bonds, debentures, mutual funds, venture capitals. These are the kind of questions. In fact, you will be surprised to know UPSC has started giving too much of emphasis on this chapter of late. It wasn't very important 3-4 years back. Since last 3 years, with the increasing role of stock market, with the increasing role of financial markets and capital markets, now they are actually giving too much of emphasis on this. These are the kind of questions which are asked. Simple. There are no analytical questions from this chapter. Financial markets, you just have to know that what are different items, different instruments that are traded in the stock market. That's it. No statement based questions, no multiple questions, no analysis here. You just have to have technical information, nothing else. It is a low hanging fruit. In fact, there is going to be at least one question every year. To read the question, what does venture capital mean? It's a simple direct question. You wanna answer? B? Anybody else want to take a B for Bombay? Okay. 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 Venture capital. Venture capital means the capital that is given to a startup at a very early stage. When during the early stage, the valuation is generally very less for a startup. You might have seen these TVF pictures. How GT Bhaiya would go around and find out the venture capital. Go around and ask for capital from the venture capitalists, right? So that is venture capital. Venture capital means if you are starting a startup and if you want capital at a very early stage, then you go to the venture capitalist and ask them, please give us money. You take us the valuation. So either they take the shares or they give it in the form of debt. That means they give it in the form of loan, which you have to pay back. Or else they may ask you some amount of share in the company and some amount in the form of loan. So it depends upon debt to equity, depends upon their own negotiations. So that is what venture capital. It's a simple question. You just have to understand basic understanding of what is venture capital. That's it. Yes. See, again, consider the following markets: government bond market, call money market, treasury bill market, stock market. How many of the above are included in the capital markets? Again, simple. If you have basic understanding of what is money market and what is capital market. Under financial markets, there are two kinds of instruments: money market instruments, capital market instruments. That means any instrument whose maturity is less than 365 days, one year, these are called money market instruments. Whose maturity is more than 1 year, they are known as capital market instruments. You will have better understanding, you will be able to appreciate the subject once you get into the subject, once we start it, right? So this is about financial markets. Fiscal policy, very important. Do you know what is fiscal policy regarding? Hmm. Is it RBI is there for the banking? So government is there for whom? Okay. Borrowings of the government. Right, right. So basically, it is everything about government's budget, how it spends, how it raises revenue. See, for example, let's say we all know how on the first day of the February month, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman would go to the Parliament and present the budget, and it is presented at a much fanfare. There is a lot of media coverage for it. Even we are stick to the screens and find out make our own budget according to the budget, because our budget depends upon the budget that lady is introducing at the parliament, isn't it? So we are worried about the taxes, because depending upon the taxes, you are going to decide whether you want to purchase that property or not, whether you want to purchase that car or not, and you want to know which tax slab are you getting into. Are you going to get any tax exemptions? These are the kind of things. There are direct taxes, indirect taxes. Basically, it's all about the government budget. Government budget. What is government budget? Just like how you have a miniature budget at your level, like you know what is your monthly income and you know what is your monthly expenditure. You make a list of it, you tally it, and if at all you believe that, okay, I am falling short of this amount of money based on my expenditure projections, so where do I get this money from? Based on your you know that your income is going to be static but your expenditure is going to be increased, right? Now how are you going to meet that rising expenditure? You have to borrow. Who are you going to borrow from? Probably your siblings, your friends, or your colleagues. If none of them show up, you go to your bank and take a loan. You use the credit card, which is a kind of bank loan, isn't it? Now you are going to your friends and going to bank, but what is RBI, what is the government going to do? Where is it going to borrow from? Either from the RBI or from public as well. Okay. So there are multiple sources of borrowing. Of course, they can borrow from the Reserve Bank, but that borrowing from the Reserve Bank is not exactly technically being done these days. RBI was asked not to borrow the government. Of course, it can borrow from the public. You know, government borrows from the public. Yeah, apart from taking our taxes, it is also borrowing from us. So RBI borrows. It's all about government budget. It's all about the government budget. The questions are also asked like this, like how the taxes are going to be raised. A simple question can be asked like this on the taxes. For example, look at this. The sales tax you pay while purchasing a toothpaste, is it a tax imposed by the central government, state government, or is it shared between them? This or that. This question was asked in this question was asked in 2014, pre-GST era. So don't go by the answer key, because it was asked into pre-GST era. After 2017, Indian government had introduced GST, goods and service tax. Since then, questions have also been asked on GST, which is very, very important. Okay, a question has been asked on GST. If you see, what are the most likely advantages of implementing GST? Simple question. What is GST? What are its advantages? You need to have basic understanding of basically taxes and government expenditure, right? And government borrowing. All these kind of topics will be covered under fiscal policy. Basically, fiscal policy refers to any policy taken by the government, not RBI. RBI is concerned with monetary policy, government is concerned with fiscal policy. So whenever I talk about fiscal policy, remember Nirmala Sitharaman. Whenever I talk about our monetary policy, remember RBI governor. That's it. So anything, everything with respect to this expenditure also. What is, look at this, with reference to union budget, which of the following is covered under non-planned expenditure? What is planned expenditure? What is non-planned expenditure? What is the difference? Which should be, where should the government spend the money? How the government is going to control the public expenditure, the expenditure? Is it even suggested, is it even right to control the public expenditure? If yes, where it should control? Okay, tell me, based on your understanding, what is a wasteful expenditure of the government? You can give any answer. In your opinion, what is it? Subsidies. Okay. Are you not receiving any subsidy? Right, right. Subsidies are generally considered as non-productive expenditure. Non-productive expenditure. For example, if the same money is being spent on something else, like any infrastructure project, that will increase the demand in the economy, that will create business. Okay? Providing subsidies is just a consumption expenditure. It is not capital expenditure. So that is why, for sake of understanding, government has divided the expenditure into multiple, two different categories: revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. So we'll discuss what are the different items of expenditure under revenue category and what are the different items of expenditure in capital account category. That's it. And we'll find out what are the trends, how the government is going to increasing or reducing, what are the major items of expenditure, and where is the government borrowing from, how much of borrowing, are there any limits on the government borrowing, and how RBI is, you know what, government cannot withdraw money from the exchequer without without taking any support or permission from the parliament. It has to, for each and every rupee that it receives from the exchequer, it has to take permission from the parliament. Okay. Obviously, government cannot go on borrowing as and when according to its own whims and fancies. There are checks and balances. It has to be answerable. There is a law which says that you are not supposed to borrow beyond this. If at all if you have to borrow, you have to explain it. So that is it. To inculcate that financial frugality, from time to time there are restrictions on government's borrowing. So all these aspects are going to be studied under fiscal policy. And external sector. Under external sector, we are going to talk about, or we are going to study each and every transaction that India makes with other countries. Each and every transaction that a country makes with the other countries, which includes exports, imports, trade, investment. For example, you might have your siblings who are studying abroad or who is working abroad, who have been in the other countries, who are sending money back. This is a transaction. This is also a cross-border transaction, right? You are receiving the money, and that money is known as remittance income. That means all the non-resident Indians who are going out and working there and sending the money back to India, this is known as remittance income. You know, India is the largest remittance income receiving country in the world. Not China, it's not any other country. India is the largest remittance receiving country in the world. Why is this? Because we have our diaspora everywhere. Gulf countries, North American, Europe, Australia, Southeast Asia like Malaysia, Singapore. So we have very diversified diaspora network. That diversified diaspora network has enabled us to receive payments from multiple countries. So there is a false assumption that China is the most populous country. Probably China has more diaspora, and that is why they must be receiving high amount of remittance income, but that is not. Now, remittance income is also one cross-border transaction, and also exports and imports and foreign investment. See, Elon Musk was talking about starting a Tesla plant in India. Of course, it couldn't happen. So they are still negotiating the possibilities. But let's say Elon Musk has started a Tesla plant in India. What do you call it? Foreign investment. A foreigner individual came to India and invested. This is foreign investment. But the thing is, foreign investment comes in multiple forms. Either the foreigner may come to India and directly invest in the physical investment, or he may purchase the shares and bonds of a company in the stock market. So when somebody is investing on the physically, that is considered as direct investment. that is foreign portfolio investment. That means a foreigner is investing in stocks and bonds in the stock market. That is portfolio investment. It is exactly not the physical versus final. It is about the limit actually. The amount of the money that you're coming up, bringing, that is going to decide whether it is a foreign portfolio investment or direct investment. How are they going to be different? Foreign direct investment going to be different from foreign portfolio investment? All these kind of questions. Purely technical questions are going to be asked from this topic. Very interesting actually. You will also understand the fluctuation of value of rupee with respect to dollar, which is known as forex value of rupee. Right? What is the value of rupee now with respect to dollar? Any broad range? 80? Yes. Just to 80, 85 rupees. It hasn't reached 90. Don't panic us. So, but it may reach 90. So, remittance income, Arushi, remittance income refers to the money received by Indian expatriate. That means all those Indians who have been to foreign countries for the work purpose and they work there and send the money back home. That money is known as remittance income. And India is the highest remittance receiver in the world. $120 billion come to India every year. At least last year, $120 billion came to India. The second highest was actually Mexico. It is standing at $60 billion. That means we are far ahead of the second. Yes? Yes, Shiva? No, that is not remittance. Only the Indian residents, who Indian citizens who have, depending upon the purpose, why foreigner is sending the money. He is going to invest in this. Why is he sending money? Is it a donation? For example, he is giving you debt. Are you calling it a debt? That means a loan. Forget about zero interest or any interest. It's a loan, right? It is considered as external commercial borrowing. Indian citizen, if he is providing money in the form of loan, then yes. So there is a difference between remittance income is not, it doesn't have any obligation. That means you don't have to pay back. For example, if my brother is sending money from foreign to me, that is remittance income. I don't have to pay him back. But if somebody is giving, if somebody is giving me loan, then that is not remittance income. I have to pay them back. Irrespective of whether he is an Indian citizen, Indian resident or foreign citizen, I have to pay him back. So that is not remittance income. So there is a word which I am not using this word here, transfer income. Transfer income is the word actually. Transfer income. Transfer income is actually that income which doesn't have to be paid back. It doesn't involve any obligation. For example, government has given you scholarship. That is transfer income. Some other NGO sitting in let's say a foreigner who has adopted a kid in the orphanage and sending money every year for the sake of the kid, that is transfer income. She doesn't have to pay back. There is no obligation. But let's say there is a foreign friend of mine who wants to help me in starting my business, and he has sent me some money and I have to pay back. That is not considered as transfer money, transfer income. So remittance income is actually a transfer income. You don't have to send back. So depending upon the purpose, depending upon the nature of the money, nature of the income, it is considered whether it is a transfer income, remittance income or not. Coming from the other country. Either it is yes, it is considered. So this is about external sector and the value of the rupee. How the value of the rupee is going to be changed. What factors does it involve to change the value of the rupee? Too many exports, too many imports. So questions have been asked on this topic actually. These kind of questions asked, first of all, they ask about the trends of the exports. That means what are we exporting? What are we importing? What are the major import items into India and what are the major items of export? Okay, I have a question. What do we import? What is the major item of import? Take a guess. Gold, electronic, oil, right? Crude oil. Yes, gold is also right. We are obsessed with gold, right? There is a word. We have cultural appetite for gold. It's not just for investment purpose. It is used as gifts. It is used in the occasions. Okay. So crude oil. It is the major item of import, followed by gold, of course, and electronics. What is the major item of export? Take a guess. Don't Google. Natural gas. Do we think that we can export natural gas? Right. Was it given here? Okay. Which is right. Exactly. All the oil products, right. Petroleum products, all the products that are received by refining the crude oil. So our imports are connected to our exports. We can't import, sorry, our exports are connected to our imports. We can't export without importing. That is what India's unique case, unlike other countries. The major item of import is crude oil, and then we refine it in our refineries, and the petrol and diesel is sold to the public, right? And the byproducts are there. The byproducts are there, right? These byproducts are sold in the foreign market again. In fact, petroleum products are the petroleum product is the major item of export. So often we say that we are exporting a lot of money, we are getting a lot of export money, but we are also importing a lot of goods. So this is very unique in India's case. So basically, this is how you need to study the exports and imports. Same thing goes for gold as well. Gold is one of the most significant jewelry, and we make the jewelry. They go to Surat, and then the Surat mills, they make the jewelry, they cut it, and they sell it in the foreign market. So that is the unique case of such. That is why it is important to understand the nature of exports and nature of exports and nature of imports. So what are we exporting? What are we importing? And what is the impact of exports and what is the impact of imports? And how this exports, imports, foreign investment, foreign remittances, all these are actually changing the value of the rupee. Tell me, random, take a guess. Increasing exports or increasing imports, which will reduce the value of rupee? Okay, what is value of rupee? I'll tell you. Let's say $1 equal to 70 rupees. Okay. Now after 1 month, $1 has become 80 rupees. What does it mean? This was in the month of, let's say, June. This was in the month of July now. Now tell me, value of the rupee increased or decreased? Decreased. Value decreased because earlier we needed just 70 rupees to purchase a dollar. Now we have to spend 10 more rupees to purchase the same amount of dollar. That means the value of rupee decreased with respect to dollar. So this is known as depreciation, which is known as depreciation. So whenever you hear this term rupee is being depreciated, the value of rupee is being depreciated, this is what we mean. Is it good or is it bad? It depends upon the context. Tell me, is it good? Is it good? Exports. Right. Anybody online? Is it good? Depreciation is good? Good for exports? Yes. Okay. For example, let's say I have hmm, hmm. 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 Okay. Okay. When okay, okay. So you're saying that if rupee value decreases, foreign investment may come to India because they have to spend just $1 to get more money so that they can invest. That is also right. That is also right. It will also increase the value of remittances, which is also right. For example, somebody was selling $100. Sorry, your brother was sending you $100 as a pocket money. Earlier, you used to get 7,000 rupees. Now you get 8,000 rupees for the same $100 rupees. That is why one of the reasons why every year our remittance income is increasing. We are happy on one side, but our rupee value is being depreciated. That is the reason. Now you make the connection, right? So yes, Shiva. Okay, that's no, it's too early to discuss, but I'll tell you. Devaluation and depreciation are effect is same, but process is different. Exactly. Depreciation means I'll get back to you. Depreciation means if it is depreciated, if the value is reduced naturally, then that is depreciation. If at all RBI deliberately reduces it, then it is known as devaluation. The word, look at the devaluating. You are somebody's devaluating it, depreciated. It is depreciated on its own. That is the difference between devaluation and depreciation. The effect is same. The value is being reduced, but the process is different. Whether it is getting organically and naturally as per the market forces of supply and demand, or is it deliberately being done by RBI? Because RBI is the sole authority to venture into this forex market and depreciate or appreciate the value of the rupee. Understood? Understood, Shiva? Right. Sorry? Okay. Good or bad? Okay, that's what. Let's say um, I have made a pen. Okay? I'm manufacturing a pen and I'm selling it in the foreign market for, let's say, the cost of the pen is, let's say, 100 rupees. Let's say 80 rupees. The cost of the pen is 80 rupees. Now, right now, if I sell this pen in the month of June, if I sell this pen, I would get $1. That means they would purchase it at $1. Let's say after 1 month, $1 value resulted in 90 rupees. That means it further depreciated. In the month of August, it has become 90 rupees. If I sell the same pen in the global market, then they don't have to spend $1. They may spend 0.9 something dollar. My product has become cheaper for them. You understand my point? Earlier, they used to spend $1 to purchase this pen. They don't even, they just, now next month, they just have to spend only 90 cents. If it's further going to be depreciated, they just have to spend 0.8 cents. Sorry, $0.8, like 80 cents. So my product is becoming cheaper day by day in their market. Then I can dump more and more products. It is good for our exports. So when value of the rupee depreciates, it is good for the exports. But hold on, we are also importing. What about imports? Sorry? Income, exactly. Price will rise. For example, earlier for $1 toy that we are importing, or that $1 product, we used to spend 80 rupees. Now next year, next month we have to spend 90 rupees. If it is going to be further reduced, further depreciated, probably we will have to spend 100 rupees, isn't it? So that is what happening with crude oil actually. If the rupee value is depreciates, na, you need to go for spending, spend lot of money. And what happens? The cost of oil is going to be increased. If the cost of oil is going to be increased, it is going to have an impact on every other good. Why? Because the transportation costs are going to be increased. The pen, the food we eat, the mobile phone, everything, the daily goods that we use, it is going to be reflected in the prices of each and every good and service that we consume on a day to day. This is known as inflation. And this inflation is actually imported inflation. That means the inflation is coming from some other country because we are importing a product whose value has been increased. Because of that, all the goods, prices of all other goods have been increased. Oil has that effect on you. There is a reason why USA and all the European countries are fighting for oil. There is a reason why they love democracy in West Asia, right? There is a reason why they want to introduce democracy everywhere they want to go, especially wherever there is oil, right? Okay, so these are the kind of topics that we are going to discuss in the external sector. Very interesting topic because it is going to be reflected in your day-to-day life. Questions are easier. At least 2 to 3 questions are asked every year from external sector. Next. Are you feeling bored? Because you have no choice. Even if it is otherwise, you can't say it. Inflation. Inflation is one word that we might have heard a lot of times, right? You know what is inflation? Price rise. Price rise, increasing the prices. We feel the heat of inflation every day, so we know it better than anybody else, right? Inflation, price rise. But the question is how and why. That is important. Why do we see price rise in the economy? Depending upon the reason and depending upon its nature, inflation can be divided into multiple types. What must be the reason? Let's say there is this product. The cost of this pen is 10 rupees. Next year, the cost of this pen increased to 15 rupees. That means there is a 50% hike in the cost, isn't it? What must be the reason for this hike in the cost? Take a guess and tell me. Demand and supply, which means supply reduced or demand increased. That means there is a demand for 100 pens, but there are only 50 pens available in the market. Everybody wants that pen, so they may give higher price. Being a seller, being a manufacturer, I believe that okay, there is a demand, so let me increase the price. So demand is one thing, right? Anything else? Yes, Poonam, you are about to say something. Right? 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 Very good. Oil prices increased. Anything, yes, if there are any inputs are that is being, for example, the plastic that is involved in the manufacturing of this pen, if the plastic cost increases, then it is increased. Basically, manufacturing cost is being increased. It's not about the demand. It is from the point of supply. So there are two words for it: demand pull inflation, cost push inflation. If it is coming from the manufacturing side, it is cost push inflation. The cost has been pushed from the manufacturing side. That is why the cost of the pen has been increased to 15. The cost has not been increased, but there has been increased demand. There is a pull from the demand side. So there are different reasons. So the reasons under demand pull, the reasons under cost push are definitely separately categorized. These are the kind of questions that are going to be asked. Simple. See, a rise in the general price may be caused by. You will be surprised to know that based on the cause of inflation, there are 4 questions in the last 10 years. That means 4 years they have asked the same conceptual question. What is inflationary? Like, which is more inflationary? Basically, inflation has multiple reasons depending upon where is it coming from. Is it coming from cost factors? Is it coming from demand factors? If it is cost factor, it is known as cost push factors. It is coming from demand factors, we call it demand pull factor. Now the question is why there is increasing demand. Just interesting. I'll make some link to the other topics. How in economy each and every topic is interlinked. You will understand it and you will able to taste the blood of economy once you understand that interlinkage. Now tell me why there is increasing demand. Forget about the supply. There is enough supply, but still there is increasing demand. Why? Increasing the purchasing power. For example, there was a time there was hardly any demand for iPhone. Nowadays, it has become a necessity. Everybody is running after that product. What has been changed over the last decade? Increasing in increasing income, increasing purchasing power. Increasing income is right. That is true actually. Increasing income. If income increases, what will happen? You would want to purchase more and more. Demand increases. Income is reflected in money supply. So there is another word where I say if there is an increase in the money supply in the market, it increases demand. Okay. So if you want to control the demand, you rob the money from the customers. Technically, that is what being done by RBI. If at all RBI believes that there is too much of demand from the market, that is why there is demand pull inflation. Let me cut down the money supply in the market. How it is going to be done? It is going to absorb the money from the bank, so that banks cannot have the money to lend easily, isn't it? See, I'll just give you an example. You might have heard about the 2000 financial crisis that happened in USA. 2008 financial crisis. Might not be knowing it. You know what happened at the time? Banks have started lending the customers without any due diligence. There was no restriction. There were no restrictions. There was this movie. I'm not recalling the name. I'm not able to recall the name. It was clearly mentioned in that movie how that financial crisis was actually unfolded. For example, let's say bank said that I'm going to give house loan for cheaper cost, 1% interest rate. Why don't you take it? Then what are you going to do? You may think, since you're getting a cheaper loan, you may think, okay, let's buy it. Even if you're not planning for constructing a house, you may assume that let's buy it. So there is a induced demand in the market, right? Since the banks are providing free credit, cheaper credit, people are going to purchase it. In fact, they don't have the income backup. Their wages are not properly rising. Just because they are getting simple and easy credit, they have gotten the loans, they have purchased it. Everybody started taking loans, purchased. Real estate boom. It's a bubble. The prices of real estate have increased, right? But the bubble is going to be burst at one point of the time, because the demand is not coming from organically increasing income. The demand is coming from cheaper credit, right? So that's what happened. Everybody has defaulted on the loan. Even if it is for zero interest rate, you have to pay the EMI. Even if it is for 1% interest rate, you have to pay the EMI. You have to pay the principal amount back. But where are you going to get the money from if you don't have a job? Right? That is what happened in USA. So this is why central bank, either it is RBI in India or Federal Bank of USA or England Central Bank of England, you know what they do? They try to control the lending capability of the banks. How much of lending capability should be there according to the RBI? That is how RBI is going to control the demand pull inflation. How it is going to do? We are going to study in the monetary policy. That is how inflation and monetary policy are closely interlinked to each other. Understand? It is the responsibility of the RBI to control the inflation. I repeat, it is always the responsibility of RBI to control the inflation. That is the major responsibility. Clear? So this is about inflation. So what RBI is going to do? Which of the following is likely to be most inflationary effects? This is what RBI is going to do when there is inflation. That's it. And also there are other topics like how inflation is measured in India. Okay. Measurement of inflation is also very important. Right? Measurement of inflation is important because, let's say, there is a daily wage laborer. He is earning, let's say, very small amount of money, let's say 5,000 rupees per month. Out of that money, the most items of expenditures are like food items. There is another person who is earning, let's say, 50,000 rupees. His nature of consumption is different. He purchases, let's say, 10,000 of food expenditure. The rest of the 10,000 rupees on other clothing, footwear and all these things. Somebody is actually earning 1 lakh rupee. For him the food expenditure is 10,000, let's say food, clothing 20,000, electronic gadgets. Okay. So depending upon your income, your consumption pattern vary, right? Let's say all of a sudden the cost of food grains increased. Cost of food grains increased by 10%. Who is it going to impact the most? The daily wage laborer, because most of his consumption is going towards meeting the food requirements, not the one who is earning 1 lakh rupee, because only 10% of his money out of 1 lakh, only 10% of his money is going towards food expenditure. So the burden of expenditure, the burden of inflation is not similar. It depends upon your consumption expenditure. It depends upon your consumption expenditure and depends upon the item of consumption. So depending upon the demand for each and every item is given a weightage in the market. So you can't say that increasing in the 10% of food grains will increase my expenditure by 10%. No, it is not going to increase my expenditure by 10%. Food expenditure is hardly one fraction of my expenditure. So that is not going to be a burden on me. That is why there are different indices. Depending in that index, they bring lot of commodities and they add weightage depending upon the item, and also they have different indices for different section of the population. For rural areas that is different, for urban it is different, for agricultural laborer it is different, for industrial workers it is different, because your consumption pattern is different. So you'll understand better about it. So basically this is how inflation is measured in India. Questions have been asked. That is also very important topic where questions can be asked actually. I couldn't bring those questions here on the slide, but these are the kind of questions. Either inflation in causes and effects and its measurements, and RBI steps. These are the 4 dimensions. If you are aware of these 4 dimensions, done, the topic is done. That is why we are going to dissect the syllabus line into dimensions. What is it? Causes, consequences and steps supposed to be taken, or steps already been taken. This will enable you to answer either prelims question or mains question. Agriculture, Prime Minister's favorite topic. So obviously UPS favorite topic. Unlike these chapters that we have discussed till now, agriculture is important for mains as well. It is important for mains more than prelims. 3 questions are asked from agriculture and allied activities, basically. Okay. Now what kind of questions can be asked? See, how do you approach this chapter, agriculture? There are no concepts here. You need to understand the state of the agriculture. For example, in inflation, in fiscal policy, external sector, there are concepts. What is import, what is export, and what is balance of payment, all these things are there. But when it comes to agriculture, what is the concept? There is no concept. You are not going to learn how to farm. Obviously, right? You need to understand the problems faced by the agriculture sector. How agriculture sector, what is the state of agriculture sector? What are the problems faced, and what steps have been taken by the government to improve the farmers' income? Because Prime Minister had given a clarion call of doubling the farmers' income by 2022. Just like Achhe Din, it couldn't be achieved. So we have deferred the targets, deferred the timeline. Okay, so probably by 2030 we are going to double the farmers' income, if not by 2040 or 2050, right? So these are the kind of questions which are going to be asked, like what are the steps taken by the government with reference to Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. It is an insurance scheme for the agriculture. It is an insurance scheme for the crop failure. Just like how there are insurance scheme for health, insurance scheme for any disaster, there is an insurance scheme for crop failure as well. The government has introduced it. So it will protect the farmer if there is any blight, if there is any pest attack, if there is any famine, right? The same thing. Again, the questions can be asked on agriculture market. agriculture market is very, very important. This is where most of the questions can be asked in mains. It is not as simple as you're thinking that the farmer produces the goods and it is sold to somebody, they will bring it to the market and they'll sell it. There are a lot of issues and lot of technicalities involved in it. There is a law which decides how agriculture market is supposed to be done. Each and every state has its own law which determines and which regulates the agriculture market. And the prices of the market, prices of the food grains, how to price the food grains, how these prices of food grains are determined, and what factors determine the prices of the food grains. These are the kind of questions which are asked, which are going to be asked both in prelims and mains as well. Have you heard about this term MSP? Isn't it MSP? What is MSP? Hmm. Hmm. Right, right. Say it. So MSP is the price, it's a support price. It is the minimum price at which the government is going to procure from the farmer. See, government cannot force the private trader to procure at MSP. Right? Government says that this is the amount of the money that is supposed to be procured. Then I say, being a trader, I say, I don't want to purchase. If you want, you do it. Government cannot force me to do it. Actually, that is what that is what the demand is. Legalizing the MSP. Once you give the legal status, even if I'm a private trader, I have to purchase it at the MSP. But the question is whether it is going to solve the solution or not. But is it going to give any sustainable solution to the farmers' issue? That is the question. In fact, it will have negative consequences. What do you think? Let's say government says that from tomorrow I'm going to make it legal. That means no matter who is going to purchase, either the government, government also procures food grains from the market. Government procures. Why? Buffer stock is one thing. Yes, yes. Food security. Somebody said something else. PDS. PDS. In the ration shops, they sell the food grains at a very cheaper cost. Now it is being distributed freely. There is a new scheme, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Under this, government is feeding 80 crores of population, distributing food grains to almost 80 crores of population. So where is it going to get that food from? It has to procure from the market. So they directly procure from the farmers at MSP. MSP is declared at before each and every cropping season. This topic is very, very important. Agriculture marketing and pricing of the agriculture goods, and how MSP is calculated, and what factors determine MSP, and what are the issues involved in MSP. Do you support legalization of MSP or not? These are the dimensions. So when you read these topics from the mains point of view, you will end up answering this prelims question. Since there is no basic layer that you are supposed to prepare here, you directly jump into the mains topics and prepare them, and you will end up answering this question, these prelims questions. Unlike other chapters where you have to lay basic foundation for the static and then you go into the mains preparation. Right? That's it. And last, industry and infrastructure. This is also predominantly a mains oriented topic. The weightage for this topic in prelims is relatively very less. You hardly find one question or not in the prelims. Let me show you this industry and infrastructure. These are the kind of questions. The government comes up with certain initiatives for the infrastructure. Okay. Let's say there is a scheme called Uday scheme. This is for improving the electricity infrastructure. Discoms, distribution companies should be strengthened. You will understand what is a discom, what is electricity, what are what are the lead infrastructure activities of electricity, all these things. And also some random questions like this can be asked, like this GK questions. So which of the following statement? Gujarat has the largest solar park, or Kerala has the fully solar powered institutional. So whenever you read something in the newspaper regarding any crazy infrastructure project, please take a note of it. That's last time also there was a question on which of the following are greenfield airports? Okay. What is a greenfield project and what is a brownfield project? What is a greenfield project and what is a brownfield project? Take a guess. Take a guess. One by one, I'll take Shiva. One by one, we'll take it one by one. Okay. Yes. How something is financed. Okay. Okay. You took your guess. You took your chances. Yes, Shiva. Right. Not about financing. It's a fresh project, right? You're right. Brownfield is actually expanding an existing project. For example, there is no airport in that area. A new airport is being constructed. That is a greenfield airport. If there is an existing airport, a new terminal is being added to it. That is a brownfield project. Okay. A question was asked last year, which of the following is a greenfield airport? Okay. There is this airport in Itanagar, Donyapala airport or something. So that was given. In fact, that was the first international airport in Arunachal Pradesh. So that was in news. So that question was asked. So whenever you come up with these kind of topics, then of course these things will be covered in current affairs. You don't have to worry about it. So I'm just explaining what kind of questions are asked. Either the initiatives taken by the government for sake of infrastructure development, that can be asked, or any infrastructure project that is in news, question on that can be asked in prelims. Nothing beyond that. Okay. The cost benefit ratio is very poor in terms of prelims. So if you read it for the mains, you will eventually answer the prelims questions, just like agriculture, because you are not going to learn any concepts here. There are no concepts. You don't have to get into the infrastructure project and know what are the issues, what are these technical terms for infrastructure projects. No, you don't have to. Basic certain concepts are there. That's it. See, again, when I listed out these topics, I'm not saying that questions are going to be appeared only from these 8 or 9 topics. Questions can be asked beyond that as well, but the cost benefit ratio is very, very poor. So I've just listed out only those very important chapters. For example, let's say GDP calculations, national accounting. That means how GDP is calculated. GDP, GNP, national income, purchasing power parity, GDP, all these things. Then kind of questions, it's actually important. It is very basic because it is quite expected from the students of economy to understand how GDP is calculated. Even if it is not going to be asked in the question, you need to have that basic understanding, because you don't want to be ridiculed, in front of somebody who say, with whom you say that I'm preparing for UPSC and I don't know how GDP is calculated, right? And there are other topics like certain microeconomic topics, like demand and supply. What is demand, what is supply, goods, demand and supply of the goods, what will happen if there is demand, right? These kind of questions are asked. Different types of goods are there depending upon the demand. Giffen goods, inferior goods, superior goods, supplementary goods, all these kinds of goods are there. So these kind of questions, once in a while you find these kind of questions. Okay. And also output based questions. These kind of questions are asked. Microeconomic topics or national accounting once in a while, but we'll discuss these chapters as well. So this is about broadly the prelims syllabus. This is main syllabus. Read it. It may sound Greek and Latin to you, but it's fine, completely fine. Okay. Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development, and employment. Okay. See, your prelims knowledge is going to help you in understanding the main syllabus. Don't go by the terminology. Don't get startled by looking at the words like mobilization of resources. It comprises of all those topics that we have prepared for prelims, but a bit beyond that. Mobilization of resources means mobilizing the financial resources for spending. Okay, who does it? The government does it, the individual like you and me, we mobilize the resources for spending, or the business. So the three stakeholders in the economy, the government, the individual, and also the private players, where are they going to mobilize the resources? An individual mobilize the resources based on his own savings. Out of your income, you save a certain amount of money, you save it in the bank, and you also take loan from the bank. So banking sector. So if you're good at banking sector, you can cover this mobilization of. Let's say there is the government. Where is the government going to raise the resources from? Where does government earn money? Taxation, taxes, non-tax resources, or borrowings. If at all it doesn't have money, enough money from the taxes, it will borrow. So borrowing, so fiscal policy. So under mobilization of resources, you are going to study about all the monetary policy issues, banking issues, and fiscal policy issues. But it is not written like monetary policy, fiscal policy, but it is written in mobilization of resources and government budgeting. Let's say government budgeting. You have talked about, you have studied about everything about the government budget in fiscal policy chapter. That's what the name, the way the syllabus is mentioned is quite, slightly different. Otherwise, your prelims knowledge of those 10 chapters that we have mentioned, that is going to be helpful for you to easily swift through this mains preparation. But the nature of the mains preparation is slightly different. How and why? Let me explain you this. What is being demanded from prelims mains and what is being demanded from the UPSC from this subject? First and foremost, your conceptual understanding. This is important. Your basic concept is being understood. Let's take the case of inflation. This is the question that is being asked, that was asked in 2021 in the prelims. Which one of the following is likely to be the most inflationary in its effect? That means this question is demanding causes of inflation. What is the major cause of inflation which creates the major impact of the inflation in the economy? Isn't it? That is the basic concept, right? This is the basic concept. And now come to the mains, they will add analytical understanding. They were going to test your analytical understanding over and above your basic conceptual understanding. Read the question. What are the causes of persistent high food inflation in India? We have already studied about the causes of inflation. So your base is covered, and look at the other, go through the other statement. Comment on the effectiveness of monetary policy of the RBI to control this type of inflation. That is, it is asking that how well the RBI could control this inflation. It is analytical. This is conceptual. In the concepts, you are going to study about what is inflation, what are the causes, and what are the consequences. But in the analysis, for mains point of view, we are talking about what steps have been taken by the RBI to control inflation in the recent past, and what is its success, what are its failures, and what is supposed to be done. So the problem solving skills, that is going to be tested. The understanding of the problem is going to be tested. To understand the problem, you need to have conceptual background. That is the relation between the prelims and mains. And also your current affairs knowledge is also being tested. Because a bureaucrat is supposed to solve a problem. To solve a problem, he should be updated with the recent happenings around him. What is happening with a particular aspect? How the government is supposed to solve this issue? So you may not understand exactly what this is about, but this is an article which was appeared in the newspaper with respect to inflation. So they want to do something new, something some changes to the way the RBI is approaching the inflation, in controlling the inflation. They want to start something else. What is that something else? What is that new change that they're being introduced? To understand that, you need to have the understanding of this static and analytical understanding. This current affairs knowledge is again tested either in the prelims or mains or in the interview. During the personality test stage, you are going to be asked about what is your opinion on declining and depreciation of the rupee. What do you think India should do? What do you think India should do to attract foreign investment into India? India has a lot of population, working age population is being increased, but we have unemployment crisis. How do you think it is going to be solved? What should be the strategy? This kind of problematic solutions and recent current affairs are going to be tested in the interview stage as well, apart from prelims and mains. So these are the three things that are going to be tested. So I expect you to learn these three aspects: concepts, analytical, and current affairs knowledge. Right? Where do you study? What should be the sources? What must be the source? These are 3 NCERT textbooks. Okay. If you haven't gone through them, completely fine. I'm going to make you go through these textbooks. Okay. With respect to the material, I expect you to be and keep this as a basic source material. Beyond that, I'm going to give you notes and PPTs in the classroom. So I'm going to take any topic in the form of some PPTs like this. Okay. And I'll give you the PPTs, and I'm going to give you written PDF notes. If at all there is any requirement to dictate the notes in the class, I may dictate. But if you're running short of the time and if you want to discuss the topics rather than the dictating, I'm going to give you the handouts. Handouts will be provided, PPT will be provided through my class. You don't have to worry about writing the running notes. I expect you to be present in the class and be interactive. That is the only thing that I expect you from the classroom. And at each and every end of the class, I'm going to give you questions. Prelims questions, you're going to solve it right here in the class. But mains questions, I expect you to write down the answer. If the class is done from 9 to 11, I expect the answer by night, so that I can get back to you by tomorrow with a feedback. So I'm going to take around 50 odd classes. Within these 50 odd classes, we are going to, while completing the syllabus itself, we are going to solve at least 300 to 400 questions. Prelims questions. At least 300 questions, prelims questions, and at least 50 mains questions. That means your revision is also going to be done. You end up solving prelims and mains questions as well in the first reading itself. So that's it. That is how we are going to deal with the syllabus. I'm going to, now that you are here anyways, I thought of why don't we start a topic? Okay, just a simple topic. I'm not going to bore you with these topics. Let's start with banking. Since bank is something that which everybody is familiar with, so I have picked up this topic. Otherwise, I wanted to start with something else. Let's, for fun, let's see what is the core business of a bank. How banks do run. Then it accepts deposits from the customers, right? And that money is given to some other customers as loans. There is also sometimes they also mention advances. Loan or advance, both are similar, synonyms. When bank give loan to somebody, it is not going to be free. It is going to charge interest rate. So interest rate is charged on the loans, isn't it? Of course, what about this guy? The one who deposited in the bank, he is going to not do it for free. He would also demand some interest rate. So interest paid on deposits. This is the bank's concept. The interest charged is definitely higher than the interest paid on the deposits. Otherwise, they cannot run the business. Let us say the interest charged is, let's say, 10%. The interest paid on the deposits is hardly 6%. The margin, the interest margin, which is 4%, is the income of, or the profit of bank. This 4% is the profit of bank. So your profit depends upon the cost, the cheaper cost, the cost at which you raise the deposits. Isn't it not mobilization of resources that we have mentioned there? So the cost at which you raise the deposits is going to determine your profits. However, or else the interest that you're charging on the loans, that also determines your profits. So this is broadly It's a far too simplistic understanding of banking business. There are much more complications and much more layers to it. But this is broadly the core business of bank, isn't it? Now, let us say if bank receives deposits of 100 crores, it has given all the loans 100 crores as loans to somebody as loans, and they receive 10 crores in the profit, and they pay 6 crores 10 crores in the form of interest, and they pay 6 crores in the form of deposit, interest paid on the deposits. They receive 4 crores as their income. But in this example, we made an assumption that whatever the deposits that come to a bank, all those deposits are going to be used as in the form of loans, which is not true, which doesn't happen in real life. Banks cannot use all the money it has received in the form of deposits to grant loans, to provide loans to the customers. There are certain restrictions. The RBI, being the regulator of the bank, would want to control this lending capacity of the banks for multiple reasons, which we are going to discuss. And it says that keep certain amount of money aside in the form of reserve requirements. I'll tell you what this reserve requirement is. In the form of reserve requirement, keep that money and do not use that money for lending activities. That is what. Let's say deposits have been received, okay, and they have been given loans, interest is charged, and interest rate has been paid back to the customers, depositors. Okay. Now, how much of money is available for lending? Only the blue portion is available for lending. The gray and the orange portion is not available for lending. Let's see what these portions are. This portion is considered as reserve requirement. There are two components of reserve requirement. One is known as CRR, or cash reserve ratio. CRR, or cash reserve ratio. What is CRR? What is cash reserve ratio, and what is the logic and what is the purpose behind it? Okay. Cash reserve ratio is the amount of money that a bank has to set aside with RBI in the form of cash out of the total deposits it has received. It has to be deposited with RBI in the form of cash out of the total deposits it has received. Let's say it is 4%. CRR is 4%. CRR is fixed by whom? RBI. Let's say CRR is just 4%. Let's say this bank has received 100 crores of loan. 100 crores of, deposits, my bad. Bank has received 100 crores of deposits. Out of this 100 crores, 4 crores are supposed to be deposited with RBI directly in the form of cash. When I say deposited, that means keeping with the RBI, RBI is not going to pay any rupee to any interest on this money. RBI is not going to pay interest on CRR, cash reserve ratio. Then you must be wondering why. Why RBI is actually compelling the banks to park its funds that it has received from the deposits. In fact, for this money, they have to pay the interest. But for the money that the bank is keeping with the RBI, they are not paying any interest. That is the reason. Why do you think so? Why do you think RBI has actually asked the banks to keep a certain amount of deposits with itself, with RBI, rather than using it for the lending purpose? To curb the money supply. Okay. Anybody? Partly a reason. Anybody else? Do you know why? To avoid the bank run, right? Avoid the bank run. I'll give you an example. Let's say, let's take a hypothetical example. You are a working professional, and you are earning salary, and you are receiving your salary at the first day of month. By 25th, you're almost run out of your money, because your spending capacity, you don't have financial discipline. You have spent the money, and in the last 1 week you're scrambling for money. You look for borrowings, and there is this friend of yours, there is a big brother, there is a brother of yours who says who sees this behavior in you, and he says that every month you are spending the money by 25th, and in the last 1 week you are scrambling for money. So do one thing, that the time you receive your salary, keep certain amount of money with me and use the money wisely for 20 days. I'm going to use this, give you money whenever you need it. And you say, okay, fine, this is good. So you keep your money with him, and you don't ask for any interest rate. You don't ask for any interest for that money, because that is kept aside for any untoward incident that may happen. That means any financial liquidity problem. If at all you don't have any money at the end of the week, at the end of the month, then you can use that money. In the same way, RBI asks, being a big brother, being the regulator of the banking sector, RBI asks, why don't you give me certain parts of deposit? I'll keep it with you. Whenever you need money, I'm going to give it to you. So that you don't have to, you can avoid the situation of bank run. So that is the major purpose. To avoid bank run. What is bank run? Right, right. So there is unusual withdrawal demand. Unusual withdrawal demand. For example, you have gone to bank, you withdraw the money from the ATM, you didn't get the money. Okay. Because every rupee that has been given to the bank in the form of deposit has already been used in the form of loans. And there is a withdrawal demand. See, deposits comprises of all kinds of deposits. Demand deposits and time deposits, isn't it? Time depositor may wait for maturity period to remove his money. But what about a demand depositor? I am using that money, I have deposited money in your bank account so that I can make day-to-day regular bill payments and day-to-day payments. Who asked you to send that money? Who asked you to use that money for the loan purpose? Right? Then I went to the bank and I went to the ATM and I don't find money in the ATM. Then I go to the bank branch. The bank teller says that we don't have money. Then I'll text this to my friend, his friend. Every customer would flock to the bank branches and demand money. So to prevent that withdrawal demand, in that cases, to unusual withdrawal money, this is the situation of bank run. If all the customers flock to the bank and demand the money, where is it going to get that money? It has already given loans to somebody. So this CRR portion is going to give confidence to the public that yes, some money is in the hands of RBI, so I don't have to worry. In fact, most of the people who went to the bank branch to demand that money, they don't need that money. It is only purely out of suspicion they went to the bank and demanded the money. There are hardly 5% of the customers who are using these demand deposits. The rest of them do not really care about how much money is there in bank, so they may not require it immediately. There is no immediate need. But the moment you suspect the bank, you want to run to the bank and get the money. Isn't it? So that is what. This CRR is more like stability, give stability to the banking operations by giving the confidence to the public. In fact, you don't have to, bank will never have to go to the RBI and ask for CRR. Look, there are customers waiting at my door. I need to give money, so let me go to the RBI and give. It doesn't work that way. It is more like symbolic gesture that I have given the money with the bank. You have nothing to worry. So the bank is safe. So that gives the customers a confidence that I don't have to flock to the bank branch and demand my money. I'll take the money as and when I need it. So that money is anyways being arranged by the bank. But all the 1 lakh customers come to the bank and ask money all of a sudden, then the bank cannot give it. So the withdrawal demand should be always natural, organic. It should not be unnatural, unusual because of any suspect towards the banking business. Understand? That is CRR. And what is the component? That means in what form you need to keep the CRR, bank has to maintain only cash, nothing else, no gold, nothing else, only cash. Kept with whom? Kept with RBI. Cash kept with RBI. Does it receive any interest rate for it? Is it visible to you? Does it receive any interest? No. No interest rate. Okay. So this is one reserve requirement. There is another requirement which is known as SLR, statutory liquid ratio. SLR, statutory liquid ratio. What is this component? Let's say RBI has said that the SLR is 18%. That means 18% of the deposit should be kept in liquid assets. What is asset? What is liability? See, the deposits received by a bank is considered as liability. You keep hearing these terms liability and assets in the banking sector a lot. This deposit is actually a liability because the bank has to pay back to the depositor, pay back to the customer. So that is considered as liability. The loans are advanced given by the bank, it is considered as asset. Remember this, asset and liability. You are going to use these terms forever in the economy. So the loans that are given by the bank, of course it is asset because it is going to earn income from it. It is a liability, it has to pay back, right? If at all, let's say bank has invested in a real estate property, do you call it asset or liability? Any real estate property? Yes, bank has invested. That's an asset. Not just loan. If bank has made any investment in shares, in other properties, see, sometimes there is no adequate loans, the adequate demand for the loans. Bank has money, but it still wants to make a profit out of it. So it would choose the right investment opportunity and it will invest. So that is also it's a asset. If it believes that there is no demand, then it will invest in the gold, assuming that gold prices are increasing. It is better than giving loan to somebody and not paying back, not getting the money back. So that is also an asset. Gold is an asset. Its investments and the loans and advances given by the bank are its assets. Now the thing is this. Not all the assets are risk free. There are certain assets which are riskier, there are certain assets which are less riskier. Let's say a bank has given a real estate loan, that means a house loan. Okay, the house loan is a long term loan. It will take at least 20-25 years for you to recover the full amount with interest rate. The longer the maturity of the loan, the higher the risk. See, I may expect due diligence from the customer for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. You don't know what the customer is, how the customer is going to behave after 15 years. After paying 50% of the loan, he may abscond, he may stop paying it, or his income might not be in the right position. His situation is not in his financial situation is not in the right position to pay back the loan to the bank. So there is a risk here. Let's take the education loan. There is some sort of risk because at least I am going to provide you education loan for 4 years. Once you complete your education and get a job, you will give me, you will pay back. Okay. For a student who is going to get into IIMs and he can get the loan because there is a less risk because I'm sure this IIM is going to provide some sort of employment opportunities to this graduate. So fine, let's give loan. Education loan is going to be available for him. Comparatively less risky, but still risk is there, right? Credit card loan. There is a salaried employee whose salary is 2 lakhs and it is a formal IT employee. Okay, you are giving a credit card where the credit card, where using the credit card, the individual has purchased something of 30,000 rupees of electronic item has been provided. The bank feels that it's okay, it's less risky. I know he's going to get salary by the first of the day. He's going to pay that money back to me. So the risk varies from nature of the loan. Different loans have different risk profiles. Now, let's say, apart from there, let's say a bank has given all kinds of loan: agriculture loan, industrial loan, personal loan, housing loan, vehicle loan, credit card loan. Okay, all kinds of loans have been given. From whom money? From whose money? Depositors' money. Okay. Now, let's say RBI wants money for something. So not RBI. So the bank wants some money. All of a sudden, it needs money. Now, how is it going to get the money? all the money went in the form of loans, and there is a specific maturity period for each and every loan. If it is an agriculture loan, I have to wait for the next season. If it is an education loan, I have to wait for 3-4 years. If it is a housing loan, I have to wait for 20 years. If it is a if it is a car loan, I have to wait for 10 years. Just because the bank needs money, it cannot ask them to prepay the loan or pre-close the loan. SBI manager cannot call you and say that, see, we don't have funds. Why don't you close the loan before 5 years before it? Why don't you give us the money now and close the loan? So basically, you cannot liquidate your assets. You understand my point? You cannot liquidate your assets. That means your assets cannot be converted into cash immediately. So what if the banks need short-term liquid financial crisis? It requires money either to meet their withdrawal demand or to pay the salaries or to invest somewhere else or any operational expenditure. It needs money. For that reason, certain assets should be maintained in the liquid format, liquid assets. What are these liquid assets? Those assets which can be converted into cash very easily. What are they? They are golds. Gold or government securities or directly in the form of cash. You have to maintain certain deposits in the form of these assets. So don't give loan, invest in the gold. If at all you need money, you can immediately sell the gold and use the money. Same thing goes for government security. What is a government security? You will understand this in detail when we go to get into the financial market, but let me tell you what a government security is. Government security is a bond or a debt instrument issued by RBI on behalf of government. I'll explain you. Let's say, if you remember when I was talking about the fiscal policy, I said government is going to borrow from the public. Government has certain income, government has certain expenditure, and if expenditure is more than its income, it has to borrow. It has no other choice. Where does it borrow from? It borrows from the market. What is market? Market is bank, market is you, market is me, everybody is market. That means it is going to borrow from the public. How does it borrow? It is going to issue government securities. What is a government security? Government security is a bond. I'll briefly explain what is a bond. Just try to understand. There is a bond. For example, I need money. Okay. I want to borrow some money from you. I say that this bond value is 1,000 rupees. Take this bond. Take this bond. Purchase this bond. I am selling this bond and give back to me after 3 months. I am going to pay, which means maturity of this bond is, let's say, 3 months. Okay. After 3 months, come back to me. I am going to purchase it at a higher cost, at 1100 rupees. That means interest is how much? 100 rupees, which is 10%. This is a simple understanding of bond. Of course, there are different, types of bonds. Okay, there is a bond which I am going to issue, and you are going to purchase it. At the maturity period, you can redeem the bond at a higher price. So that is what a bond. Government security is a bond issued by government. Government is saying that, why don't you purchase this bond and come back to me, I'll pay you higher price. Indirectly, what is it doing? It is taking loan from the public and paying back with interest. The government security is a debt instrument or a bond issued by the government. Who is going to purchase the government securities? Everybody. Banks do purchase government securities. Market investors purchase. You know what? You and me, we also can purchase government securities. There is a separate portal on RBI. You go there, you can purchase the government securities. That means you can give loan to the government. I can give loan to the government. You can give loan to the government. 1,000 rupees of loan, 10,000 rupees of loan to the government by purchasing these government securities. It's a very simple understanding. Understood this? Any doubts? So banks are expected to invest in the government securities or gold or keep it in the form of cash for sake of this SLR, statutory liquid ratio. Statutory liquid ratio. That means out of the total deposits, 18% should be kept in the form of gold, government securities and cash and not available for lending. This is one reserve requirement. So what is the purpose here? The purpose is almost similar. It's actually liquid management. Liquid management. If at all any financial obligations are there, the bank should have ready money. So all the money should not be converted into loan assets. Some of the money should be, some of the deposits should be converted into liquid assets. That's it. Does it receive any interest? By the way, SLR should be kept with whom? Bank itself, not RBI. It has to keep with the bank itself, right? It has to kept with bank. That is the difference between CRR and SLR. And for CRR, literally the bank is not going to earn anything. But for SLR, is the bank going to earn anything based on the SLR requirements? Yes. Since if they are going to invest in the government securities, they may receive interest rate. If they want to keep completely in the form of cash, even they are not going to receive any money out of it. But if they invest in gold, if the gold value increases, then they may get some profit. If they invest in the government securities, they may receive the interest rate. So the may receive interest. But here there is no possibility. It's a blunt no. RBI is not going to give it. That is the difference between SCR and SLR. So let's say out of 100 crores, only 72 crores are available for lending. The rest of the 18, like 18 plus 4, 28, right? 78. 4 plus 18. Generally, it is in the level of 14% of SLR, 18%. I'm sorry, 18% of SLR, 4% of CRR. Total 22% is kept in the form of reserve requirements, and the rest of the 78 crores is available. 78% is available for lending purpose, right? Though these two are avoid the situation of bank run or to make the make certain liquid assets available with the bank. Though these are the two important purposes of RBI for mentioning this and mandating the banks to maintain these reserve requirements. There is another reason why RBI would want to use this. Your reason that you said earlier, to control the money supply. I'll explain you how. Let's say RBI says that SLR should be, so this is SLR. SLR should be 18%. Okay. CRR should be 4%. So the money that is available for lending is actually 78%, isn't it? Okay. Now tomorrow RBI says that let's reduce SLR a little bit. So SLR has been reduced to, let's say 8%, from 18 to, let's say, only 8%. And CRR has been reduced to, let's say, only 2%. Now how much of the money is available for lending? 90%. 90% available for lending purpose. Now, what do you think? The bank is going to reduce the interest rate or increase the interest rate in this case? Why? It has more amount for lending purpose. When it has less amount, there is higher interest rate because you have less amount of money for the lending purpose. There are more number of customers but less amount available. So you will definitely charge high interest rate. But now that you have more money, the interest rates are going to be reduced. So in this case, more amount of money available, more lending lending capacity. So the lending capacity has been increased. If the lending capacity increased, what will happen? Interest rates will go down. That is the relation. So sometimes RBI may use this SLR and CRR as a tool to increase or reduce the lending activity or the lending capacity of the banks. Understand? So that is also one more objective of CRR and SLR. That means apart from their original core objectives, RBI may use them as their monetary policy tool to reduce or increase the lending capacity. For example, this is one case. For example, let's say RBI has said that let's expand this to 22 to 30% of reserve requirements. So like 25% of SLR and 5% of CRR. Then this will be the available. This is the money that is available. That's it. Only 60% is available. 70% is available. That will further reduce the lending capacity. If lending capacity is going to be reduced, interest rates are going to be increased. That is the link. So if RBI wants to reduce or increase the interest rates of the bank, it is going to change its lending capacity by increasing or reducing this SLR and CRR ratios. Clear? My point is that why does RBI want to increase or reduce the interest rates? Okay, it's about demand and spending capacity. Anybody else? Yes, increasing money supply economy to control what? Inflation. If you remember, I used the word demand pull inflation. If there is too much money available in the market, there is demand pull inflation in the market, which is not a good sign. So RBI would want to reduce the demand pull by reducing the money supply. How does it reduce the money supply? By reducing the lending capacity of the banks. How does it reduce the lending capacity? By increasing the reserve requirements. That's it. So that is also one more demand, one more purpose of the SRR CLR. I'll show you some questions, previous year questions. I want you to answer them. Which one of the following, which is a question which was asked in 2019, which one of the following is not included in the assets of commercial bank in India? What is the answer? Deposits. What is a deposit? It's a liability, isn't it? Yes, it's a liability. Simple question. So 2019. And look at this question. Consider the following liquid assets: demand deposits, time deposits, saving deposits, currency. The correct sequence of these assets in the decreasing order of their liquidity. Decreasing order of their liquidity. Read the question properly. What is the most liquid? Higher to lower? Give me the option name. A, B, C, D. D. Is it the answer? Right. D. Currency is the most liquid. That means you don't have to convert it into anything else. You can directly spend it. So that the most liquid is actually currency. Now, demand deposit. You can withdraw at your own demand. Savings deposit is actually, you can withdraw it, but there are restrictions on the frequency of the withdrawal. You have two accounts, current account and savings account. The only difference is that current account, you can use that money for anything, for regular bill payments and for anything else. Savings account, you get certain amount of interest rates, so that's why they keep certain restrictions on the frequency of withdrawal. Otherwise, it is also kind of demand account only. Time deposit, no, there is a fixed maturity period for it, so it is less liquid. So 4132, clear? This was asked in some, this is also previous year question. I forgot to mention the name here. Read this. I want answer to this question. You can answer this based on the discussion. When the Reserve Bank of India reduces statutory liquid ratio by 50 points, 50 basis points means 0.5. 1 basis point means 1 point, 0.1. So 50 basis points, that means from 18% to 17.5%. Okay. When the Reserve Bank of India reduces the statutory liquidity ratio by 50 basis points, which of the following is likely to happen? Tell me. Hmm? C. Okay. So what will happen? SLR reduced, more money available for lending capacity. So they will cut down their interest rates. That's it. This was in 2016. Right? This is how we are going to add more and more topics and conceptual. If you have conceptual understanding, it is very easier to pick the right answer. Right? So this is about the banking. Later on, what are we going to learn in the banking sector is that when bank provides these loans, what kind of issues are faced? What if there is a default? What are the steps that can be taken by the bank? And what will RBI going to do? What will RBI do in that situation when banks have accumulated these non-performing assets? That means those defaulted loans. And what is a bad bank? What is this, NRCL, ARC? Lot of topics are there. So that is about it. This is how we are going to deal with the subject. I haven't given any mains question and answers or mains topics. Too much for today. Okay. Agriculture topics, infrastructure, land reforms, certain static topics are there. So there are very interesting topics as well. If you see the NCERT textbooks, you'll find that this is mostly mains oriented textbook. This is important for mains, but this is prelims. This is for prelims. This is also slightly important for prelims. Only few chapters are important. You don't have to go through all of them. Okay. If at all you need to start with it before we start this, you can contact me on this number. I'll give you a number in the going on YouTube. I'll give you my let's do one thing. I'll share it with somebody because there is no typing pad here. Let's find out if it's yeah. You received? So that is the number. If you want to start, of course, economy classes are not scheduled right away. I'll give you my number. Economy classes are classes are not scheduled right away. So probably they're scheduled after whichever the classes are going to be done. So till then, if you want to start, you can contact me on this number. If you want any if you have any doubt with respect to it. If not, if you're not able to do it because you're busy with some other subject, completely fine. You don't have to have any FOMO. And with respect to reading the newspaper, let me tell you, you may not understand the things that are mentioned in the newspaper. If you have prior economic understanding and if you want to steal the newspaper, it's up to you. You can read it. I suggest you do it. But if you haven't had gone any prior understanding, please do not waste your time on dwelling too much into it. If you want to read it for fun, read it. It is always advisable. But do not don't get startled by reading those terms, asset liability mismatch, investment, national investment trust, all these things. No. Let's take it one by one, step by step. So that's it. If you have any doubts, you can ask me with respect to the preparation, with respect to economy, anything else. Greenfield project is actually a project which is for the first time started. It is starting for the first time. Okay. Whereas brownfield is actually an infrastructure improvement within the existing project. For example, if fresh airport is being built, that is a greenfield project. If you're adding one more terminal to the existing airport, that is a brownfield project. So greenfield investment and brownfield investment, that is increasing the capacity of existing infrastructure project is known as brownfield investment or brownfield project. Making and starting and creating a new infrastructure project is considered as greenfield project. Yes, Nandana? No, no. There are only three components. Either you keep it in the form of gold, or keep it in the form of government securities, or just keep it in the form of cash. No bank would want to keep it in the form of cash, because cash is an eroding asset. The value of the cash is going to be eroded with the inflation. The value of 100 rupees note today is no more going to be the same after 1 year. So you better invest in some asset which is going to give you some return, which can hedge against the inflation. So only three components. Three components. Why government securities? Because government securities are considered as risk-free investment. Because who is the person there? It is the government. Government never defaults. I may default on my loan, you may default on my loan, or any other, Ambani, Adani, anybody, they may default on loan, but the government never. So that is why it is considered as risk-free. That is why it is very liquid. It can be sold and converted into cash at will. Yes, Shiva. See, I'll tell you something. Sometimes when I say that I have deposited my money in the bank, I made an electronic transfer. Okay. Physical money takes lot of time to be transported between the banks. I'll tell you a simple example. Let's say on a day-to-day level, I make from my account, SBI account, you have an HDFC bank, let's say. I have made a transaction of, let's say, from SBI to HDFC, some 1 lakh rupee. There are thousands of such customers who have made such transactions from SBI to HDFC. But there are thousands of customers who have made similar transactions from HDFC to SBI. They don't transport physical money for each and every transact. They are going to net the transactions at the end of the day, and they'll find out who owes how much of money to each. From SBI transaction to HDFC, let's say 1000 crores. From HDFC to SBI, 800 crores. Net is that SBI should provide to SBI to HDFC only 200 crores. So that is so. So most of the transactions are electronic and mentioned in the account. The physical transfer of the cash happens once in a while. Understand? So the same thing. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Is it not? No, no. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Bank run is a very extreme situation. Banks do not face these extreme situations in the normal circumstances. CRR comes into play, it plays a role in the extreme situation that, okay, now there is no hope. Let me go to the bank. There are other instruments. How banks do meet this liquidity crisis is because they can go to other banks. This is known as call money market. For example, SBI doesn't have money. It goes to ICICI bank and asks for money. Why don't you give me money for 1 week? I'm going to pay you back. If ICICI doesn't have money, it go to the HDFC bank. So this is known as peer-to-peer lending, interbank lending. There is a separate market for it that is known as call money market. Okay. If at all they don't like their friends, they don't want to take loan from them, they can go to RBI. That is known as repo market. I'll explain what is repo market when we discuss this. Okay, this is repo market. As I told you, RBI is the big brother. There is a word in the economy, lender of the last resort. If nobody gives a damn to a bank, shamelessly it can go to the RBI, because as a last resort, I can go to RBI on any day and get money. So that can bet, and they get the repo market. So most of the times, you don't have to reach the state of CRR. You can get funds from your regular withdrawal demand. If you have a bank run situation, then you're talking about CRR. So the basics of CRR is that, it is an indication that, see, I have a CRR, so you don't have to go for it. It is just like a nuclear bomb. You don't have to use the nuclear bomb, but you can use it as a scarecrow. I have a nuclear weapon. I dare you use it on me. If you use it on me, I'll definitely use it on you. So for the deterrence I'm using is, for the same way, the bank is also keeping CRR. See, I have CRR, you don't have to worry about it. If at all there is extreme bank run situation, then the CRR comes into the picture. Otherwise, it's more of symbolic gesture to provide stability in the banking by increasing the trust among the customers. Understand? Hmm. In a cashless economy, see, you can remove the cash, but you cannot remove the money. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Cash may not be kept, but money can be kept in the with the RBI. That is also cash. Digital rupee is also cash. It is just that it is reviewed in the digital version. It is equal to the physical currency. The only difference is that it is going to be transferred through a different mechanism, wallets. Otherwise, just like how you use the physical currency, paper currency, you're going to use it. There is no difference between in its usage, in its nature. It is still considered as cash. The digital rupee is also a cash. And its currency exchange rate is 1:1. That means 1 rupee digital rupee is equal to 1 physical rupee physical currency. No difference. Only mode. The mode is different. So if at all the government is government, bank says that instead of putting physical cash, I am going to give you digital cash. It is cash. It is going to be relevant. Even in the cashless economy, it is going to be relevant because there is going to be money. Even if there is no cash or not, there is going to be. What is cashless economy? Tell me. What is your opinion of your understanding of cashless? That's what I'm saying. If it is not printed currency, it is going to be digital currency. Currency is going to be there. Yes, I can go to the bank any day and withdraw the money either in the form of cash or either in the form of digital transfer. No, 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 no. It doesn't work that way. I'll explain that concept in the money supply. You cannot transfer. See, bank is not creating any money. If let's say if bank gives you, let's say, I make online transfer to you. I make an 1 lakh rupee transfer from your account. The bank should be backed by 100 rupees. That 1 lakh rupees of physical currency. Without physical currency, it cannot make any digital transfer. It needs to have physical currency backup. Cashless economy means you're not using it in the day-to-day terms. Banks do transfer the same money among themselves. You'll understand this in the money supply chapter. Nothing to worry. I know it is going Greek and Latin right now, but even if it is a cashless economy, there is going to be currency. The currency form is different, but the concept is going to be same. If it is easy physical cash right now, it can be any other form of cash, any form of currency. Uh, Methodology of calculation. No, 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 no. Just remember the impact, consequence. Why 18%? Not our concern. But what if 18 to 20%, 18 to 16%? Then there is a consequence to it, right? So like during demonetization, demonetization is exactly cannot be said that it is something to do with CR or anything. Demonetization has completely different purpose. It will take a bit of time. For that, I need to give 15 minutes of discussion on certain other aspects. The concept of money and its characteristics and the reasons for demonetization. I'll explain that whenever we discuss the topic. Okay. Yes, Poonam. Mm-hmm. Mm. Sorry, come again. I couldn't hear you properly. Mm. The guidelines are given by RBI. Is how much of SLR is supposed to be maintained, how much of CRR is supposed to be maintained. It is mentioned by the RBI. Government has no role in it. It is only the RBI which is going to mention it, and banks have to fall in line with these guidelines. That's 18% CRR, sorry, 18% SLR, 4% CRR. Otherwise, RBI will impose a penalty. Any more doubts? Yes. Mhm. When are you going to get monthly magazines? From this month, from next month, you are going to get monthly magazines. I'll have to discuss with them. I'm not aware of it, but you are going to get current affairs materials and you are going to get current affairs support. No doubt about it. You're going to get all kinds of current affairs support. But I personally request you to concentrate more on in the initial stages, in the first 6 months, I request you to concentrate more on the static. If your static is going to be good, trust me, your current affairs is going to be a cakewalk. Don't have to worry about the current affairs. There is too much of FOMO that is given, unfortunately. That's good as well, but sometimes it may have a negative consequence. But just for 6 months, first 6 months, please concentrate heavily on the current affairs. Sorry, static topics. Right. Any doubts? Okay. Thank you guys. Thanks for being so patient. Yes, 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 yes. For people, not for the banks. Banks have to do it even if they like it or not, because that is mentioned by SLR. For people, it is an investment, because that is giving me some interest rate, and that is risk free. See, I may not trust my friend, but I can trust the government. If I give my money to the government, I will get back my money, because there is a sovereign authority is there. Government is a sovereign authority. It is not going to default. That is why it's an investment. It's an investment asset. See, if I put it in the share market, the share price may go up and down. I may not get the money or may get the money. I may lose. Bond is a safe investment. It is like a loan. Irrespective of your performance, I will keep receiving my interest rate. Okay. And if it is the government which is taking loan from me, all the more a good idea for me, so that I can give loan to the government. Understood? Nothing to worry. All your doubts will be clarified as and when we get into the topics. But in the meanwhile, if you have any doubt, if you're really inquisitive about it, feel free to contact me. Nothing. There is. You don't have to hesitate. Any more doubts? Okay, I'm assuming there are no more doubts. If you still have any doubts, contact me. I have given my number. Okay. So that's it. All the very best, guys. All the very best to you. And let's meet whenever we discuss the economy subject. See you. See you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry, I'm going to give my number 9642 0891 26. Both of you had economy background? Seems so. 9642 0891